Hi there, how's it going? It's Kingdom Gambit here, and I'll be reviewing my game that I played for you guys today. I played with the black pieces, it was full of tactics, a lot of fun, and I had zero blunders in it. Always a good sign. At 1300 I shouldn't be making a lot of blunders, but they tend to pop up here and there. Well, without further ado, we will get started. My opponent plays e4, taking the center with his pawn. I start with g6, getting ready to get my bishop into the action, play on that long diagonal. If you've seen my past few videos, this is an opening that I play every time. g6 is my first move, no matter what, and that's just the type of player that I am. So my opponent takes the full center, playing d4, great move by him, and I develop my bishop. He develops his knight, and this move is protecting the d4 pawn and taking control of the e5 square, which is a pretty important square, I would say, in this line. I start with playing d6, just a book move here, but it's a move that I always usually play. And that's not a good reason to play the move, but it is just a habit at this point. And you all may agree with me, we just play moves out of habit sometimes just by reaction, and that has turned into my opening for black most of the time. Well, my opponent develops his other knight. His pieces are looking very symmetrical and pretty on his side, while my pieces are looking very defensive and a bit passive. I then develop my bishop, and I pin my, but his knight to his queen. And he develops his bishop, breaking the pin. Then I develop my knight. This is a pretty good move. I'm getting ready to play a tactic here, and the tactic is only if he messes up in this position. What he played was moving his pawn to h3, and this walks into me capturing a pawn, because after I take the knight, he has to capture back, and it doesn't matter what he captures with, whether it be the pawn or the bishop, he settles for the bishop. In this move, if you want to find it, it's with this knight. I know that's a little bit Dora Explorer-y and easy, but it is knight takes pawn, and as you can see, I have two attackers. It's opening up my bishop on the biggest diagonal on the board for it, besides, of course, the white square diagonal, but biggest one for the dark squares. And I'm getting ready to attack the bishop, and unless he wants to break an opening principle of moving his piece again, and the only real place to move it is moving it right here, which I'm just going to kick again. Just wouldn't be the greatest move. Anyway, after taking the pawn, he just decides to castle. Not a bad move. It develops his queen. After I capture his bishop, he captures back with the queen. And here I opt for developing my knight, which is a bad move because I looked at this in the game review. If he pushes here, let's say I take, he is able to take back here, I believe, and he equalizes the position. Even though I'm still up a pawn, this is pretty good for him. Breaks my structure. He also doubles my pawns, but that is not what ended up happening in the game. In this position, after I develop my knight, he brings out his bishop. While it develops the bishop, it misses the tactic, and I still hold my advantage right now of 1.4. Having that pawn, and it feels like he does have a little bit more active pieces. I'm not sure where the 0.4 is coming from, but I'm still enjoying the position. It could be due to him losing that central pawn, and the pawn in the center on e4 is a little bit isolated. His queen's in front of his f2 pawn, which of course it's going to weaken his king to push it, but basically makes it more of an isolated pawn. That could be where that 0.4 is coming from, if I could guess. I decide to castle. This is still not the right move, because instead of this, what it wants me to play is this, which is a very I should say book move. It is something that I play a lot in the opening, just pushing that pawn forward. And it's for the same reason. If he pushes this pawn, let's say if I didn't play that move, if he pushes this pawn, the same moves happen. Oh. Yeah, well, okay, yeah, in this position, I don't have to show it. So if he pushes his pawn, same thing. I lose that, but then exactly not the best position. I feel like it would be a little bit worse if my king was still in the center, but it's not. It ends up what happens. He moves his rook to the center, and with this, I move my queen because I'm seeing this move now after 3 moves of the computer wanting me not to play this. If he pushes his pawn forward after this move, let's say instead of this move, I just kept my queen in the center. What I saw was if he pushes this pawn, which it won't let me, but if he pushes this pawn, just imagine, if I capture now, then I'm toast because my queen's getting taken, and I have to move the knight, and I'm just not liking the squares that I can move it to. Obviously, I can't move it here. If I move it here, it feels like it's out of the way, not doing much. And if I move it to the bottom, it just feels like I can't get my rook out, and things are just starting to get clustered and blocked. So when he plays this move of rook to the center, I move my queen over just to not fall into his little trap that I felt like he was setting up. And he brings his other rook to the center. Very principled by my opponent. Besides losing that pawn, I think he has done a great job developing his pieces. I then move my queen over. And the queen in this position, I'm not really sure what it's doing. It's pinning the pawn to the queen, even though the queen will not be hanging. It has a pawn guarding it. But it will double his pawns. And the prospect of that I enjoy. And what ends up happening is he does just push. I don't know if he was thinking maybe I won't see this and I could be just doubling my own pawns. But he played it pretty fast. He played it in only 6 seconds, so didn't put too much thought into it. Maybe he just wanted to break the center open with the 2 rooks in the middle. Anyway, I end up taking the queen. I know that I have the advantage being a pawn up. I know my pieces aren't super active in this position, but the future prospects of getting my rooks out and developing more in the center, everything sounds pretty good. He captures back with his pawn doubling, and I capture the pawn in the middle. He then captures with his rook. Now in this position, I kept looking for silly tactics, something like moving my knight up here and hitting this bishop. I mean, not the bishop, the rook. But the rook is easily able to capture this pawn, so it really does not make much sense for me to do it. I ended up not moving the knight. I end up just moving the pawn forward, making it so he can't capture it. And then he tried to capture a different pawn. I just push it forward. I don't want to move my rook and commit it to a square that I don't care for it being on. He then develops his knight. Now my knight is attacked by 2 pieces. This is a place that I really thought for a second. Not for too long, but what I saw in this position was it's getting attacked by 2 pieces. Not only that, but when the knight does take here, it comes with check. And I can't move my knight here because the rook would take it. I can't take, well, I can take, but for some reason, I didn't like that. Because if I take, he can just undouble his structure, and I like having that doubled pawns there. So I'm thinking, what can I really do? I could also just develop my bishop there. Instead, oh goodness, I'm so sorry, y'all. Let's find where we were. Instead, what I end up doing is moving. No, I do move my knight to the center. My bad. I see that not only am I moving the knight to the center, it's guarded with my pawn. though I feel like this could be a pretty strong move, it's a bit committal. Let's see what he ends up playing in this position. He does. He kicks the knight. And, this is what I was getting confused of. This moment in the game, I'm looking, where can I go with my knight? I'm unable to develop it pretty much anywhere because it's going to get taken on all of these squares that it controls, even though it's in the center of the board. I didn't see the strong presence that he was having with all of his pieces. So you can take a second and think about what you would play. I thought there was a couple choices, but only one that felt like it really worked in my opinion. The move that I decided to play is kicking the bishop, because this is a fair trade here. If he takes my knight, I take his bishop. Besides the fact that he is winning a pawn, but I felt like this bishop is so strong, and if he does capture this pawn, so let's say he does capture here. I capture, and then he captures here. I capture. I'm still up a pawn, so never mind. Oh, but he is then capturing back here. And I don't... The engine's saying it's completely equal, yet this position does not look nearly as good as the position that I felt like I had. So let's see what moves were actually played in the game. I kick the bishop. He takes the pawn, taking that free pawn, and I take back. He takes my knight. I take the pawn. He puts me in check, and this was not a good move for him. For me to explain why, I think it's due to the fact that when I do bring my king forward, he has to move his knight. And although this seems like such a good move to just take the pawn, it is a poison apple. People in chess really like to say, if he does take the pawn, then he gets forked, because neither of these two pieces can, they're not a bishop, I should say. So if it was a bishop, of course, the bishop could capture sideways, wouldn't have to worry about it because there's nothing guarding the pawn. But instead, I'm winning one of the two pieces. He wants to trade rooks, but I say, go ahead, because you're not only trading rooks with me, you're losing your knight. And in this position, he waved the white flag and decided he had nothing left to fight for. He has double pawns, as do I, but with my bishop, he just did not think it would be wise to continue, which I don't fault him for. I think this would be a hard position. I may have tried to play it out farther, but still a really
nice
fun
eye.
game.
You found a tactic to grow your lead into a win.
Ended up giving me an 85.2% accuracy, so pretty good accuracy this game. 1950 evaluation for my ELO, gave him 1400. I'm not sure if I agree with 1950, but I will take it. My opening, however, was 100% accuracy. My middle game definitely needed some work at 79.2, but my end game was also 100% accuracy. So just got to work on those middle game ideas, I guess. But if you enjoyed the game and liked seeing some of the tactics, I would strongly encourage to put a like on this video, maybe leave a comment of what your chess ELO is or what you're trying to work on, whether it be openings with the black pieces or spotting tactics. Anyway, I have a lot of fun making these videos, and I hope everyone had a great day. And catch me in the next one tomorrow.